What if the feeling that everyone is judging you is actually just a glitch in your brain? Most of us live under a spotlight illusion, feeling exposed and watched, but the truth is, the world isn't looking. Today, we are hacking this social bias with 3 science-backed strategies to turn your paralyzing anxiety into high-level intelligence. It's time to stop hiding and start owning the room. The spotlight trap. Why your brain creates a fake audience that doesn't actually exist. The brain thinks you are on a stage, but the audience is a mirage. When a stranger glances at you while they're walking, your mind instantly assumes the gaze is full on. In reality, most people are preoccupied with their own thoughts. Studies indicate that only about a quarter truly notice an unfamiliar passerby. Yet the brain magnifies the attention it imagines, turning a casual pass into a performance. The result is a cascade of intrusive thoughts. Your voice is too loud, your posture off, your smile awkward. This invisible spotlight is a mental trick that shrinks the world to the front row of your own perception. If you think you're the center of attention, every gesture becomes a potential faux pas. Imagine standing in a crowded room. The air feels tight, laughter feels like critique. Conversely, when you realize that the spotlight is fabricated, the weight lifts. Neuroscience shows that recognizing this illusion reduces the amygdala's fear response, restoring calm. The social mirror reflects not your reality but your expectations. On social media, a comparison of a polished photo to a raw moment can make you feel unworthy. Your brain fills in gaps, assuming negativity where none exists. Reality, however, is that most people scroll without scrutinizing your image in depth. Acknowledging this mirror's bias helps you shift focus from perceived judgment to genuine self-acceptance. The micro-exposure staircase offers a practical rewire. Start with brief moments of social contact, greeting a cashier, nodding at a neighbor. Next, extend to higher stakes, ordering in a cafe, speaking a sentence in meeting. Finally, tackle larger scenarios like public speaking or networking events. Each step desensitizes the brain, gradually reducing the imagined audience's pressure. With consistent practice, the invisible audience fades, and authentic interaction flourishes. The face reading error, fixing the brain glitch that makes neutral expressions look hostile. Neuroscience shows that when people look at a face that looks neutral, the brain's threat detector, an area called the amygdala, jumpstarts as if the person were dangerous. In a recent series of experiments, nearly half of participants labeled neutral smiles as hostile. The effect lingers even when the context makes it clear the face is friendly. This misreading happens because of what can be called the invisible spotlight. In a crowded social scene, the spotlight has a tendency to glare on the center of attention, turning ambiguities into signals of danger. The brain, wired for quick survival cues, flags a calm expression as a potential threat. It is as if the amygdala is shouting danger before the cortex has a chance to give its second opinion. Another reason neutral faces cause confusion is the social mirror. Human brains are primed to match facial cues with the surrounding environment: workplace, party, classroom. If someone in a tense meeting shows a neutral face, the mirror reflects tension. If the same face appears in a sunny park, the mirror flips to relaxed. When we rely too heavily on context, we quickly jump to the most probable threat scenario. Rewiring this bias is as simple as using a micro-exposure staircase. Start with brief, controlled glimpses of neutral faces held at eye level while your focus remains elsewhere. After a short moment, note the neutral expression and let it fade. Repeat multiple times, gradually increasing the exposure. Over weeks, your brain learns that neutral does not equal hostile. Alongside the staircase, explicitly examine the context of the face before deciding what it means. Ask, "What is the situation?" instead of letting fear take the lead. Over time, the invisible spotlight dims, the social mirror becomes clearer, and the brain's tendency to read neutral smiles as threats evaporates. The avoidance loop: why staying quiet or hiding actually makes your fear grow stronger. Without a moment's shift, the silence you keep in conversations can turn your dread into an ever-growing mountain. Each time you stay quiet, the brain rewrites the story of "I'm invisible," and that script starts to feel true. The invisible spotlight that everyone else feels humming in the background actually shines brighter on you, because the louder your body stays in the dark, the louder your mind feels exposed. In social encounters, the brain's threat system flickers faster than the heart. When you bottle up your thoughts, rumination runs unchecked and wet fumes of self-criticism settle like fog. A recent experiment on adults with social anxiety showed that postponing even a single question in a meeting can amplify their anxiety scores by about a quarter. The avoidance loop is an automatic reinforcement. Fear begets silence, silence fuels judgment, judgment stokes fear. The social mirror is another trick the world plays you. If you're always on the left side of the conversation, the mirror shows a shallow reflection of yourself, missing the depth you actually possess. You then look again at that dim image and think, I must be invisible. One vivid anecdote involves Maya, a graphic designer who avoided office chats and feared her ideas would be rejected. Her silence meant colleagues thought she was uninterested, creating a cascade that pushed her to resign instead of speaking up. Rewiring starts with the micro-exposure staircase. Step 1. Say a single word in a low-stake setting, like nodding and adding ham. Step 2. Ask a basic question about someone else's project during a group call. Step 3. Share a brief personal insight or opinion in everyday chat. Each tiny lift is a rung that trains the brain that the spotlight isn't burning, just beaming. Behind the scenes, neuroplasticity lets the fear circuitry weaken while the neural pathways of confidence strengthen. The key is consistency. The more often you climb, the less the invisible spotlight feels painful. By swapping avoidance for gradual exposure, you quiet the rumination and let the social mirror show you a brighter, more confident reflection. A microdose of confidence, a simple, step-by-step guide to teaching your brain to feel safe. Anxiety spikes even when strangers whisper behind a coat rack. The brain's alarm system goes off in a heartbeat, louder than the rustling of paper. Neuroimaging shows that social anxiety pushes the amygdala into overdrive, firing twice as much as a calm mind. That raw, immediate, invisible, turns ordinary conversations into high-stakes battles. The invisible spotlight makes you feel as if every eye is on you, every word is weighted, and suddenly small awkwardness feels catastrophic. Knowing the physics behind this spike is the first key to rewiring the bias. Step 1 is the micro-exposure staircase. Start with 10-second rehearsals. Stand in a quiet corner, imagine a friendly face, and say a simple greeting. 45 seconds later, extend to a full minute in a cafe. Next week, juggle the same routine in a crowded room. Each brief rise in intensity reduces the brain's avoidance circuitry. The body learns that the signal, an anxious surge, does not signal danger but merely a transient curiosity. The trick lies in pacing. Whether the interval feels short or long, every descent from the peak chips away at the learned fear. No grand gesture is needed, just a tiny step each day. Next, bring in the social mirror. While walking to the mailbox, practice a friendly nod to a passing neighbor. Observe how the mirror, your own reflection in real time, shows that your face holds calm, even when the mind rattles. The social mirror trains the brain to gauge its own safety signals. Breathing slows, shoulders relax, and the pulse drops. Over repeated cycles, this physiological feedback replaces the irrational anxiety map. Finally, lock the changes in place with intentional visualization and positive self-talk. Picture yourself sharing a joke with a coworker, noting the gentle laugh that follows. Cue yourself, I am safe here. Use these words repeatedly, especially right before social gatherings. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, spikes when we predict success. By rehearsing success, we prime the neural pathways that reinforce comfort. The practice is simple, but persistence is vital. Consistency turns a microdose of confidence into a lasting shield. Together, the staircase, the mirror, and the mantra create a circuit that rewires the brain's original anxiety bias. Each act, though tiny, builds a foundation where the invisible spotlight fades into an ordinary backstage glare, and social interaction becomes a routine dance rather than a high-stakes performance. The empathy advantage: how to turn your high social sensitivity into your greatest power. Imagine waking up to a world where every nod, sigh, and pause feels like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Research shows that 70% of people who report being overly sensitive to social cues also report anxiety when meeting new people. That's empathy. Empathy activates brain regions such as the anterior insula and mirror neurons, releasing oxytocin, the hormone that signals trust and bonding. It lights up the brain. But a bright spotlight can cast deep shadows, making social situations feel like walking on a fragile bridge. Anxiety follows. The brain's negativity bias means that uncertain social signals trigger the amygdala faster than positive ones. An anxiety spike occurs. Coupled with heightened sensitivity, the brain reads every glance as a judgment, creating a spiral of worry. To break this loop, the micro-exposure staircase helps. Start by standing at a cafe, listening to a conversation without speaking. Then, progress to commenting on the barista. Gradually climb. Each step trains the brain to recognize that uncertainty need not equate to threat. When you recognize that your sensitivity lets you perceive emotions you might miss, you can align your words with others' needs. Empathy wins. In negotiation, noting a partner's fatigue can prompt a compromise that preserves goodwill. Results follow. Use the social mirror, project your feelings onto the situation, then calibrate what you actually observe. That reflection sharpens insight. The power of being attuned to subtleties means you spot when someone feels overlooked and address it before it escalates. Consider a team meeting where a hesitant colleague shares a problem. Instead of dismissing it as a simple error, you ask clarifying questions, making sure the individual feels seen. Good listening follows. The colleague's confidence rises, and the solution takes root. Your reputation soars. Repeat this pattern, and your social sensitivity becomes a superpower that turns anxiety into influence, calm into connection, and vulnerability into leadership. Did you know that every time you feel nervous in a crowd, your brain is actually spotlighting you, like an invisible spotlight that only you can see? That's the anxiety bias in action, and the good news is you can change it. In this video, we broke it down into 3 simple ideas. First, the invisible spotlight. Our brains glow the bigger the fear, making us feel exposed. Second, the social mirror. What we see in others reflects back, shaping how we judge ourselves. Third, the micro-exposure staircase. Tiny, controlled steps in social situations that drop the intensity of the spotlight over time. When you deliberately step up that staircase, say, by practicing a short greeting with a cashier, then a small chat at a meetup, and gradually toward a group presentation, you give your brain a new map. The sparkle of the spotlight dims, the mirror shows a kinder self-image, and anxiety starts to shrink. So, if you're ready to rewrite the circuits in your brain and walk more comfortably into social rooms, start with that first microstep today. Hit that like button if you're ready to turn that spotlight into a source of confidence, and tap subscribe so you won't miss our next deep dive, building resilient communities that reinforce each other's confidence. Your journey to a calmer, more confident social self begins with one small act. Let's take that step together.